Well, as Chris Lucas just told you, unless you get the CBDs of our big cities back up and running, we are going to have a major problem. Now, on the horizon is this prospect of interest rate rises. I'll talk to Scott Phillips about that shortly, but according to Shane Wright in the Sydney Morning Herald today, the Reserve Bank could be in a position to move rates above 2% within 12 months. The Commonwealth Bank, their head of economics, spoke by the name of Gareth Aird, said the cash rate was likely to be at 1% by the end of the year, 1.25% early next year, and it could go beyond that. That would translate into a variable mortgage rate of 4.5%. Imagine if you're running a small business and you have a home loan, the prospect of your income being impacted by interest rate rises like that, added to inflation with things like the cost of petrol, fruit and vegetable and food, etc. Bill Lang is the co-founder of the Victorians Party that will contest the next election. He's also Executive Director of Small Business Australia. How nervous is small business about an interest rate rise? Bill, good morning to you.
Yeah, g'day, Steve. Well, I think there's a couple of fronts. There's a whole bunch of small business families that have got significant borrowings with respect to operating their business and their home loan, and often it's their home that actually secures those loans. So any rise in interest rates means their expenses are going up, their repayments are going up. But then secondly, for a whole bunch of Australians with a high level of household debt, as interest rates goes up, that means there's less money available, particularly given sort of low growth in salaries and wages, less money available to be out actually spending with small businesses. So it's sort of a double whammy, Steve.
We need to get people back to our CBDs. I operate out of 2 offices in Melbourne and 1 in Sydney, large office towers, middle of the city. There's still mask mandates for people in those offices. Clearly, I don't need to wear one when I'm on air, or my voice would be worse than it already is. We need to get rid of those mask mandates if we're going to encourage people to go back to an office setting, don't we?
No, absolutely no question. So it's acting as a barrier. And again, every state appears to have a different approach to this. With respect to Victoria, it's still, basically work from home if you can. It's what the government talks about. But, we've been told for 2 years to stay safe, which many people have interpreted as stay scared. We've had the chaos effectively, since Christmas Eve onwards with respect to rats and all the rest of it. And so the level of confidence is so low. People are, staying scared and staying inside. Yet, all indicators are positive. I think it's not just time to remove the masks and mask mandates, Steve, but QR code check-ins now are a total waste of time because nothing's actually being done with them. So it's another impost on consumers. It's continuing to have them feel frightened. Be uncertain. We need some confidence. We need to see our governments get on the front foot and help get everything going again.
The rules are so different state to state. I mean, God help you if you try and travel. You don't know what the situation is in Queensland if you come from Melbourne, or if you're in Sydney when you go to Victoria. They're all different. I mean, Chris makes the point that he's got wait staff in his restaurants, and he owns 8 of them, who have to wear masks to serve customers, but the customers can sit there at a table of 6 or 8 people, no mask, because they've got a drink in their hand.
Yeah, look, and this inconsistency across the board, and it continues to go on. If we take WA, for example, like the WA Premier can't even say on what basis they're going to reopen that state. So anyone in WA or outside of WA doesn't even have a clear target that they can be tracking. He says, sometime by the end of the month. Well, they've had a couple of years over there to get themselves organised as to how that should work. But this all gets back to, again, this fear, Steve. The pain of uncertainty is far greater than the certainty of pain. Now, back of the envelope, there's probably been 4 or 5 million Australians have had COVID now. Right? They did some random testing up on the Gold Coast on January the 17th or 18th. And it turned out that about 20% of the households they went to, people had it. And of those, let's say 20, 17 had no symptoms. So there's millions of people have had it and they've recovered. We need confidence rebuilt. We need some clarity. Uncertainty, confusion builds fear. Fear keeps people in, keeps people scared. It's time for governments of all persuasions at all levels to get on the front foot with a clear, consistent message where through this thing, let's get things going again.
The other point you made in a piece you wrote for the Herald Sun the other day, I think it was on Monday on Valentine's Day, that we should never let anybody forget that right through all of this pandemic, in Victoria at least, both the politicians who were in charge and the public servants running the joint gave themselves pay rises.
Look, hard working, largely working from home, extra pay rises, hasn't passed one pub test, one barbecue test amongst anyone out there that lives in the building growth risk economy, which is the majority of Australians in terms of having businesses, working in small businesses, and it's felt by all of us. And again, we've had the shadow lockdowns effectively. Victoria, we're in really lockdown 7. We've been in that now for weeks and weeks, on the verge of sort of 7 weeks. Absolutely no financial support, no hand up for a number of businesses. The great story today about a yoga business in this case. So a yoga studio where, the market, normally she's very busy this time of the year, New Year's resolutions, people wanting to get healthy again. Her customers are largely female. They're staying away. They're frightened to be indoors when there is actually no scientific evidence based on being fully vaccinated and everything else that's going on that there's actually a risk for people.
Yeah, it's amazing. You set up and established the Victorians Party. What is the aim of that party now?
Look, the Victorians Party, has been formed by a group of people who are just concerned about the professional politicians that appear to play a game for themselves. And the majority of Australians, and particularly Victorians, are absolutely over it. Victorians want people from their local community that understand the community's needs representing them, and certainly controlling whoever the government of the day might be. Because here in Victoria, Steve, if 1 in 5 Victorians voted one for the Victorians Party in the upper house, that would be at least 8 out of 40 seats. That means there would be a handbrake on these professional politicians running the show for their own benefit, which is largely keeping power or attempting to get power.
Always a pleasure to catch up, Bill. Good on you, mate. Thanks for your time today.
Yep, thank you, Steve.
Bill Lang, the Small Business Australia CEO, Executive Director, co-founder of the Victorians Party.